This episode is made possible by New Masters Academy, the world's absolute #1 online art school in the entire planet. Click the link down below for a free 7-day trial. Thank you, New Masters Academy.
I am deep in the annals of your mind. I am deep in the annals of your...
All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the new Honey Yamson After Hours podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Vincent, a background designer for the Hollywood animation industry.
And I'm Janet, the ex-Disney artist turned independent creator, and this is a podcast about all things art, business,
and whatever we feel like. Now, today we're going to talk about how Hollywood can't relate to you anymore.
Before we get into it, make sure to touch, jingle, turn that like button blue.
Yeah. Oh, turn it blue. Oh,
please and thank you.
Oh my God, you got to do a lot of things to turn that thing blue.
Not
Tell
really.
you what.
Just touch it.
You are looking fantastic. We are well into the year of 2022. It is looking worse than 2021, actually.
I don't know how that could happen, but yeah.
But it's happening. But we hope you and everyone and everything over there is doing well. And you look fantastic. How do they look? I look today.
You look great.
You
It
look
is
great.
Monday.
I can tell how hard you tried this morning. It's hard waking up in the morning, but the fact that you tried, good for you.
So the reason why we are talking about this subject is because we have been watching a lot of movies. We just haven't been talking about them, and we noticed certain things.
Well, there was a lull. I think there was like a month.
Yes.
There were like I think what is it? January.
Yeah.
January there were
February.
no movies. And half of February there were no movies.
Yes. And now it's March.
Yeah.
And finally we have like a good number of movies to talk about.
Right.
All together. And I just thought that there's this commonality here with a lot of movies aren't able to relate to you anymore. And I just want to talk about that because I feel like as artists, as creative people who like make, content on the internet, I think it's really important to just keep in touch with how people think and feel. That way your stuff doesn't, look irrelevant, out of touch.
When do you think Hollywood was in touch with what you think at least the majority of people related to and empathized with?
I think no one will tell you you're wrong if you say Hollywood for the past 20 years, actually, or more than 20 years, has been getting more and more woke. I think Hollywood, like if you've watched a lot of movies in like film history, like movies have always kind of had political messaging during the era that it's made.
More 70s movies about Vietnam.
Yes.
A lot of them were about Vietnam. Not explicitly about Vietnam, but sometimes just like influenced by Vietnam. I think that's why movies became a lot more violent, and the MPA let up a lot of their restrictions was because on TV were things more 10 times more violent than what you could see in the theaters. I think even Taxi Driver had a lot to do with like the mental health of people.
Yes.
In the 70s, even though it's not explicitly about, I think Travis Bickle did serve or something like that, but like it wasn't explicitly about that. So
there are a trend here that like movies have always been have some kind of messaging or some kind of political at some point in time. So I saw it happening in the 90s too. There's some 90s movies that are like super kind of woke, but it's like not quite as bad as it got in the 2010s, 2020s, where like they're just outright saying nonsense that like they expect you to understand because it's like, oh, us normal people think this way, right? And it's just like, no, some people really don't.
Hey, people over the age of 35, guess what Jane and I watched that was really, 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 really offensive?
What?
We watched Porky's.
Oh yeah,
that shit was awesome.
I liked Porky's.
I liked Porky's, but at first I was like, "Whoa,
whoa!" Yeah, it's not even that offensive, but like,
I think it's relentlessly like that in the beginning though.
Yeah,
it's like, hey, this is what we're about. I'm like, hey, okay, cool. But then you end up like
really liking it.
Chilling out with the kid. It's like hanging out with the dudes.
Yes.
Your Floridian dude friends. Up to no good.
Yeah.
Screwing over the bar, The bar for screwing over your friend, that type of thing.
It represented the young teenage male better than any movie I have seen in a really long time.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, you cannot say those things. But that's the thing. Like, they're not technically
but
that
it's the shit I still see, like, Gen Z people do.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, if you and I were to make a movie in the spirit of Porky's with, like, a bunch of who, like 20 like Gen Z people, it would be insane.
Yeah.
It would be insane because I think we know these young people really well.
Yeah.
Like we have
awful.
siblings. We have siblings and they're just awful.
They're awful.
It's like they haven't changed. Teenagers are still
the same.
awful, but we're supposed to not show how they're awful in the movies.
Yeah.
But back then it used to be a lot more unapologetic
about how boys are. I think the weird expectation for millennial women for men that they have, like, I once heard I think on a YouTube video or someone's like saying like, well, I expect men to do this and to do that, and like, oh my god, it's like this. I think the very specific statement was something like, sex is really sacred, and if I had sex with a man, it means like I love them, and it's special and everything. For women, women think this way, okay? And she was saying like, so aren't men like that? I want a man who feels that way about sex, and therefore she wanted some ridiculous thing of a partner or something. And I was just like, I thought the same thing when I was 18.
Oh, I see where this is going.
When I was 18, I technically still feel the same way. For some men, though, sex is just sex. It doesn't mean anything. It like literally, it's like this weird urge that you have in the morning. Every morning.
I must have Jane.
And I heard David So, this comedian on YouTube, talk about this, about how like sometimes like masturbating for him is like just like a need. Like how I need to exercise, otherwise I get like anxious or like pent up or whatever. It's like the same exact thing. Some people need to like get off in order to like think straight. And I did not believe that sentiment.
Hey man, every dude knows you can't think straighter than after you jizz them. Like truly.
Yes.
Like I think you should make all very important life decisions
and like,
after having the clarity of climaxing.
After, like, so women, we have like Shark Week. Men have that affects their ability to think straight.
What's Shark Week?
My period.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, I see. Yes. I see. Okay.
Oh my god.
I was thinking more of the fish shark.
Yes.
I didn't think about what the shark did. Just cause a lot of blood.
You've never heard that phrase before?
I've heard so many ways
of
like the rag and all sorts, but like never called it Shark Week. My first thought was you go hang out and watch Discovery Channel. Like what does that mean? Like, I don't understand. Okay, that makes sense. Continue.
I don't remember how we got on this topic, so let's go detour back to I don't even remember where we were, honestly.
Okay, we watched a lot of movies, and you think that Hollywood is in this impasse of like not knowing how to cater to people anymore.
Oh yes. Okay, so Hollywood has been making these like woke type movies. Even like the woke won't argue with you that Hollywood does. They just argue that like it should be that way, I guess. But
but they won't argue with you that they're not doing it.
Yeah, exactly. So they have been, but for whatever reason, in 2022, it just feels really shallow to pander like that.
Especially when we have stuff like inflation, war, innocent people getting blown to bits, that type of stuff.
We just went through a pandemic. Like, all these things in real life makes it so, like, when you very surface level complain about, like, sexism and racism, which to me is kind of like, both those things are kind of offensive when you do it shallowly. When you don't actually mean it, it feels like, what? This is kind of gross.
Yeah. I think most people, I think that's starting to become a prevailing thought too. Yeah. I think people, especially maybe early in the 2010s, would be like, yeah, get out, cool. But then, like, almost 5 years, 6 years of, like, constant straight being over the head, and then not only that, just inundated with stuff for the news. Like, how does one escape from anything like that?
And, like, it felt right literally up until last year, because, like, once, like, you get out of a pandemic, your loved ones have died, there's crazy inflation,
gas prices are $6.99.
You can't afford anything. You can hardly afford to put food on the table.
Also your wages are stagnating.
You're worried if you're even gonna have a job when you graduate.
Layoffs probably coming.
On top of that, there's, like, impending World War III happening. It all just seems really strange when you go, like, but we need to care about, sexism. You need to care about, like, just things that, like, people...
Where is you being mistreated as a woman sit
on my list of priorities?
On your list of priorities, and where does inflation sit?
Inflation is number one.
Number one, really, truly. Number one to Janet Chan.
Yes, because I need to eat.
That's true. One does need to eat.
Literally to survive.
It would be nice if the prices stayed the same.
If I could buy chicken. If chicken were in the stores, and I could buy
my online course. That's how I'm gonna get fed. Young students, check out my online course.
If I can buy fruit and vegetables, it would be nice. That's number one of my list of priorities.
I really didn't think that. I thought that would be like number 3, 2, 3, your health. Maybe existential, but it's part of it. Yeah, okay, never mind.
Inflation is the cost of living is your main concern.
How much would your stress be reduced if all of a sudden inflation went away for a good reason? Like, whatever, just like you didn't have to worry about it anymore.
It would be replaced by existential dread. I think that's exactly what I'm talking. Like, it's hard to care about these really stupid issues that in times of...
Did you just call sexism stupid?
Compared to inflation, yes.
Oh. Say that one more time. Did you just say inflation is scarier than sexism?
Yes.
You heard it here, folks.
Inflation.
They're gonna make BuzzFeed. They're gonna make response videos.
Inflation.
Tim's gonna make a video about you. Guess what this ex-Disney star said about sexism?
Everyone. Whether you're young, whether you're old, whether you're whatever race you are, whatever gender you are, it affects everyone. Sexism affects either or, like, whatever stance you're on, 50% of the population. So, inflation, needing to eat is top of mind. So I would assume survival movies will do really, really well.
But those are expensive to make. So I actually
really
think so.
Things like Quiet Place.
I thought you meant disaster movies.
No,
survival movies.
Survival movies. Because people are having a hard time surviving, existing in 2022.
Oh, let's see. let's give the studio heads like a break here. If we were them,
yes,
what is a movie what kind of movie, like a genre that they could just milk that speaks to the hearts and minds of people right now? And to me, I think for me, it's somewhere in that horror thriller genre or comedy genre. I want to believe it's comedy because it's like we haven't seen something like that in a long time, and they're super cheap to make. And like at this point, we are officially in 2022, post woke.
Yes.
Whoa, I can say that now. Post woke. You know how I can say that? Guess how fucking old that Childish Gambino song is. Stay woke.
Oh my god.
That's so like we lived in the apartment. Like that was so old. Oh my god. So we're official. Like it's over.
When Childish,
I'm pretty sure it's over.
Was still kind of
relevant.
Hip, yeah. So like there's a lot of movies that are kind of like remnants of this like post woke era, because literally in order to have made a lot of the movies that are coming out in 2021 and 2022, they had to have been written in 2019 and then shot in 2020.
Especially the bigger the movie too. So like something like Batman was probably like in its infancy germ phase 2018, 2019, something like that.
So a lot of, now that times have changed so drastically and fast, that usually I think the movie industry kind of like naturally follows where culture is going and what people want to hear regurgitated back at them. But because people changed on a dime because of really dramatic world issues, I don't think Hollywood was able to keep up as fast. So we're seeing a lot of these weird kind of woke movies in a time where people just feel like that's so irrelevant and weird, and
I can't relate to that at all. It's not even like part of the like we just went through a pandemic and now we're going through more issues, and then it's just like, dude, that felt so 2019.
Not only,
and it feels and 2019 feels like a long time. Holy smokes.
Yes. It not only have you kind of pandered towards really shallowly in a bad way. Like I'm just so over it. Like I've watched maybe 10 feminist movies or whatever, movies talking about certain issues.
Little Woman.
By now, by 2020, when like we as a society have kind of moved on from that, because clearly we have other issues we care about. When you're still talking about like, I don't know, feminism, whatever, it feels really like, okay, boomer. Like
go like yell at a cloud, why don't you?
Yes, like we understand this.
Like go cancel me. I don't give a fuck. I don't know how to put food on the table anymore. I don't give a shit. Make 10 million videos about me. We can't pay for gas. We might enter World War III, and who knows? We might like it might end up like people invade us, like London or something. It's not like before. We don't know what history is gonna be like in the future. It could anything goes.
Yeah.
Like I know you think it's unimaginable. Anything can happen from here on out, and it's fucking freaky.
Yeah.
It's weird, and like you're telling me, my sexism. I'm like, okay. But I'm worried about this other fucking thing here. And I really think you should be worried about that too. Don't you think? Is that unreasonable?
I think...
Is it unreasonable to say, like, go ahead fucking cancel me? Because I'm worried about food on the table.
Yes. I think everyone is. I think everyone who's an adult who, like, has to survive will understand the plight of $7 gas. And just... groceries did not cost this much last month.
When we first got hired in animation, like, we knew gas was getting crazy, but like, not like this.
Yeah.
We were paying like what I think at that time like $3.40
something. Yeah.
$3.40 for gas in 2015.
And then it got really good.
It got really good.
Like,
got really good. Yeah. Certain pipelines were still working. Broken promises weren't broken yet.
So, one of the first movies we want to talk about is Batman.
Okay. Okay, we're done being political.
Yes.
Or are we?
Well, no.
No. Okay, so we're watching Batman. The year's 2022. I'm really excited. I was really excited for this movie because it is of my belief that the future is not franchise anymore. My belief is the future is the one-off movie. It's the Joker, it's Logan, potentially the Batman. But to me, like, I consider the Dark Knight trilogy like kind of a one-off thing because it never really happened again.
Yeah.
Even though people were clamoring to see it. But the closest thing to ever come that is of this caliber is the Batman movie by Mr. Matt Reeves, who we actually very, very like. Yeah. One of the first movies I took Janet to see when we first started dating was Matt Reeves's Let Me In, which is a remake of the Swedish movie, Let the Right One In, based off of the book, Let the Right One In. Swedish version, far more superior. Like always. But Matt Reeves did a pretty neat job. My personal favorite of his is Cloverfield. Cloverfield came out when I was 15 years old, and it was the talk of the school. It was one of those movies like we would go and watch over and over because it was just fun, and we would have like so much fun like theorizing about like, oh, like what is this like? Did you see the thing when they're like in the carousel thing? There was like a thing in the sky, and like all the conspiracy stuff and the world building stuff is neat. And then when you and I dated, I think we saw his best movie.
Yes.
Which was Planet of the Apes 2.
Yeah.
Planet of the Apes 1, very good already. Shocking. I think one of the best movies with James Franco in it.
Yes.
I don't really like a lot of movies with James Franco in it, but like that is a very good movie with James Franco in it. But in the second movie is just awesome. I think this, like, you look at what is it? Planet of the Apes Part 2. I think what you have there is a hero that you want to root for in Caesar, right? And a villain that you still like, a villain that you think is like really capable, you know, which is Cobra. Like, oh man, that movie was so good. I was making that noise like every months. Like a whole months and months and months. Like I would practice my ape voice.
It's loud. If you can't already tell through your headphones or however you're listening, and you'd hold me and do that in my ear.
Me want woman.
Oh my God.
Matt Reeves or whoever's in charge for the next Planet of the Apes, please hire me. I think I'd do a good job as an ape.
Yeah. So
I'd be the artist ape. I'll be the artist ape.
The sensitive one?
The sensitive one. Who's doing like Bob Ross things for the children. Like, oh, little monkey apes. Little baby apes.
You... Oh my God.
Sorry. I really like that Planet of the Apes movie. I adore... That was one of my favorite movies of that year. And I swear, at that time where that movie was coming out was some of the greatest moments of cinema ever.
Oh,
that was when like Whiplash came out. Like so many amazing movies came out that year. And like that was one of them. So trailer for The Dark Knight happens. WB fucking got me.
Yes.
They fucking did it. You know what they did? You know what these motherfuckers did?
What?
They played Something in the Way by Nirvana. And I was like, no. So like when they played that song, I immediately knew the vibe that they were going for. Troubled, Kurt Cobain-esque Bruce.
Emo boy, yeah.
You know,
emo boy Bruce.
Huddled under a bridge, drinking the droplets from the ceiling, going like, something in the way.
Oh, copyright.
Oh, sorry. Courtney, don't sue me.
Yeah. She needs every penny.
She needs every penny at this point. My daughter has left me because I am crazy.
Oh, be careful. Defamation.
Come at me, bitch. Let's go.
But for me, I wasn't as stoked because it was Robert Pattinson.
Really? Yeah. Okay, so I think there was a lot of people wishy-washy about Robert Pattinson, but I was very confident in him after I saw The Safdie Brothers is a Good Time, which was a good time. And then we saw Tenet, where he was really, really charming. He was like the opposite of his Bruce. It was the most like schmoozing it up I've ever seen him do, ever, in his career. Yeah, the most smiling. Yeah, the most charm I've ever seen. So I really liked his performance in Tenet and Good Time. So I was like, he's gonna be fine as Bruce. So what did you think of Robert Pattinson as Bruce?
I've never liked Robert Pattinson. And I'm amused that even in Tenet, he's like, he plays this like slimy rat like figure, like character, at first.
Kind of roguish like character, right?
You don't know if he's
you don't
good or
really
bad.
know, yeah.
And then in Good Times, same thing. And
more leaning on the bad side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it always has this like side of like slimy, like unlikable, and I've never liked his acting ever since. Partly because when when Twilight came out, it was aimed towards girls like me, and I read the books. My friends read the books. I ended up watching the movies because I like the books, and as a YA novel, it is not a good book, but it is a good YA book for all the girls.
I've never read it.
And I went to see Twilight, and I just did not like him. I really didn't like him. And because, like, there was this whole drama back in the day where, like, Robert Pattinson was, like, with Kristen Stewart, and then Kristen Stewart cheated on him with, like, the director of this one movie, and she was caught in the car making out with the director, whatever. And there was a whole lot of drama within that group of stars at the time. I don't know if people know this, but, like, I know this because I was kind of a fan of Twilight. And I remember reading, just like how Cloverfield was kind of nostalgic for you, that era, I think, imprinted on me certain feelings about certain actors, and one of those feelings is how much I don't like Robert Pattinson.
Unlikable.
Yeah.
So how did sorry, it's a really huge non sequitur. I'm really actually curious, what was the difference between the book and, did Pattinson do well playing that character, or what you imagined, or was it truly him, like you didn't like him?
I don't
you think somebody else could have done that job, done that character justice, or really, like, it's Robert Pattinson, that's it?
I think Andrew Garfield would have done that character better.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I see. I
even think
you think he just did a bad job as that character.
Yeah, I think Ezra Miller would have done better in that character. Like, I think
good choice.
A lot of other people would.
I like Ezra Miller.
Yeah. Yeah.
As that character, I'm not sure if I like him. I don't think I'd want to hang out with him.
Yeah, but like,
when you talk about Kevin,
I can't help but, like, everyone would meme Kristen Stewart's Kristen Stewart face. Yeah. And she does, like, the hair thing to make it better at the time. But then they'd also make fun of Robert Pattinson for being sparkly emo boy. And
never forget the thing with the tree and the chest. Yeah. Oh my god. And it was just required watching as a young person. I remember watching the first Twilight reluctantly at someone's house, I think on somebody's laptop.
Yes.
Just like go and not barely watching, but I remember we all laughed at that.
All on Tumblr. That and Supernatural and certain other shows. And I feel like, because I went back, we watched Charts with Dan, and we saw the numbers for like all the Batman movies, all the Twilight movies, and Twilight was like the Hunger Games before Hunger Games. It made a lot of money. Mm-hmm. And Robert Pattinson, you know, that cast, like I said, imprinted themselves on my brain. And every young girl who would have liked Twilight should have went and also watched the Batman. And I think I'm not alone in the fact that I, as a woman, for whatever strange reason, I don't like Robert Pattinson. I don't think he's a great draw as a lead. I don't think people go, oh, hey, Robert Pattinson's in this movie, I'm gonna go watch the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just felt like it was a weird choice, and I didn't really believe in it. Especially after, I had more hope before I saw the direction in, like, the teasers and stuff.
So this is my feeling. I think Robert Pattinson did a great job with the Bruce that they were trying to make. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think of, like, Ezra Miller and Andrew Garfield, like everyone around Pattinson's, like, age demographic. Mm-hmm. I think, like, if they were really going for it, truly felt like the pitch meeting was like Bruce but Kurt Cobain, because he's emo because his parents died and he's like disillusioned with
He even has the Kurt Cobain hair.
I really think I kept telling you it's Kurt Cobain in the front and Work in the back. That's what it looks like to me.
It's just short.
Yeah, it's just short in the back, but like good boy, like kind of like really like kept in the back.
Then like be a good Bruce Wayne if I
have to.
Yeah.
Good boy Bruce. Good boy Bruce. But like I think in terms of like, I don't know, like I really think he was trying to do a Kurt Cobain there.
I think so.
It really seemed like he was trying to be like this like ultra sensitive, just like broken boy.
Yes.
As best as he could, and I think he did a fine job as that. But like it just wasn't that interesting to me. So therefore, I think he was like the worst part of that movie.
Yes. So I give it a 7.
I give it a 7 as well.
Yeah.
I would like personally, I like it a lot, but that's me like personally. I think if I were to watch this over Spider-Man, I just like Batman better at this point in my life. Like I just like, but like I think I debated it in my head a lot, and I think Spider-Man's a better movie.
Yes.
Like just structurally from beginning to end, a better movie than the Batman if we're gonna compare. But like the Dark Knight, the Batman is just. I think there's a lot of really cool moments, but then when it ties up as a movie, you go like, oh man, this is stupid. There's 2 movies in there, and 2 really good movies if they just picked one.
Yeah.
So what were the movies in the Batman?
So, Batman, okay. I want to get into spoiler territory now, because I don't think I can explain some of these like Hollywood can't relate to you concepts unless we get into spoilers.
Can you do vague spoilers for
Yes, I'll try to be as vague as possible, but it'll still...
If you want like a pure virgin experience, we're going to have to not do that.
So, this Batman movie is about the Riddler, supposedly, according to the trailers. So, the genres this movie is trying to do this crime thriller genre. People keep mentioning like Zodiac, David Fincher a lot, because that's Dragon Tattoo, that's Zodiac, that's like
very Seven moment
yes.
with the Riddler at the end too.
Yes. And so it's every scene and interaction that has to do with the Riddler is very crime thriller. And then it somehow takes a whole left turn into mob boss gangster movie, basically just Goodfellas. And and they don't really relate to each other. They try to make it somewhat plot why, like they explain it, they don't show it that they're related, but technically
it feels like the Riddler stuff is happening aside from the crime mob boss stuff.
Yes. Yeah. So it felt like, okay, if you wanted to make Goodfellas but Batman, do that. If you wanted to make Seven but Batman, then do that.
So we all thought from the trailers it was going to be, mostly about the Riddler and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. But like it truly, I think there's like 40 minutes of pure gangster mob like Batman stuff. Mm-hmm. And in that you have like everybody's raving about Colin Farrell. He's fantastic in this movie. He's just he's the best De Niro I've ever seen, so much that De Niro can't even do De Niro better than Colin Farrell at this point. Specifically
De Niro from
He's
Goodfellas.
doing a really good De Niro.
Yeah. Not from Taxi Driver, from Goodfellas.
Yeah. Or, yeah. So, something around that era.
Yeah.
Especially in Goodfellas when he's really old, too.
Yeah,
you're right. Yeah. And then, like, this is kind of a spoiler because I had no idea he'd be in this movie, but John Turturro, I don't know how to pronounce it. But, Jesus from The Big Lebowski.
Oh,
he'd lick the bowling ball. Like, go fuck you. Like, he would go like, fuck you. Remember? He would go like, fuck you to the dude. Mm-hmm. And then, like, John Goodman get really mad. Remember? He's wearing purple and he, like, dance. Dude, we need to watch The Big Lebowski again. Fail. We're going to do that really soon. Okay, so John Turturro plays... what's his name? Very important mob boss. Falcone. And I remember like he's a big part of the comics. He had a really big role actually in like the Dark Knight stuff too. Yeah. But like this is there's a lot of Falcone in it.
Yes.
There's a lot of Falcone.
And Catwoman.
And there's a decent amount. Well, Catwoman's sort of like the helper, the support. Like I'm talking about
she's
antagonists.
Part of the Falcone story.
Oh yeah. Catwoman's story has more to do with the Falcone story. a lot of the characters have a lot more to do with the Falcone story and the Penguin story than the Riddler story. Yeah. The players involved in the Riddler story are basically
just Batman,
the Riddler, and Commissioner Gordon, and the police. Everybody in the police are just like, there's different people.
But literally, like, 3 main characters disappear, appear and then disappear completely by the end. Like Catwoman, Falcone, and Penguin. They're just like irrelevant. Like half the movie is about that story.
Basically, like midway through the movie, the Falcone kind of story arc ends, and that's what, to me, when it feels like the emotion was like,
it was over.
It felt like
have been done.
Yeah, but then in the back of my head, it was like, wait, we just didn't deal with anything involving the Riddler.
Yeah.
And then the following 25 minutes are about the Riddler, at which point they have to ramp up the excitement and the energy back again.
Yes,
and then somehow in a way that I just don't think this movie I was ready to see in this type of movie. Like this beginning Batman, like, I think a magnitude of destruction I've seen since like The Dark Knight Rises, it had the thing in The Dark Knight Rises that I hate, which was like, it was ridiculous. Like they blow up all the bridges, and then there's a big bomb in the center of the sea. Like this is the stupidest cartoon episode of Batman I've ever seen. Like this is ridiculous. And then like something very similar at the end of this movie happens, and I'm just like, dude, if it were about the Riddler stuff. Like, so I was asking you, what movie would you rather have it been?
I personally wishes it was more crime thriller, because I've never seen Batman do that before.
I agree.
I thought it was so interesting that I was so like excited for the first third of the movie.
I told you this too. I told you, like, I'm telling you, Paul Dano is barely going to be in this movie because the way it looks like he's just going to be in these like snippets and FaceTime stuff.
Very like Saw 7.
Yeah.
Any serial killer movie.
And then like I was hoping that it would be like a good episode of the Batman show or a comic where it's just like the whole movie there's just one big puzzle, and then like Batman basically is like, oh, it's this, and then like, oh, he saves the day like Scooby-Doo or something like that. But in the end, like, it never feels like Batman had anything to do with helping with the Riddler case in this entire movie.
The reason why I give it a 7 is because it's a mediocre version of those 2 movies. I thought the things I liked about the movie were the Penguin, literally everyone but Batman. I liked Alfred, I liked Catwoman, I liked Penguin, I liked Falcone, I liked Paul Dano. I literally liked everyone except for Batman. And I love their acting. I thought everyone did a great job. I think the story is all right.
I was pleasantly surprised by Zoe Kravitz. I don't think I've ever seen her in anything that was that memorable. Yeah. But she did such a good job. Like, it's a really physical role to be Catwoman. You have to put your back into that shit, man. Like, you catwalk all the time because you're Catwoman. And she just really fucking strutted, dude. And I was just like, dang, way to commit. But like, Robert Pattinson, dude, come on. And then remember when he was like complaining, I don't want to work out. I don't like.
And you said you liked the score.
I thought the score was pretty cool sometimes. But towards the end, I thought it was a little cheesy. Yeah.
I thought one of the biggest tells that I thought this movie was a little bit out of touch. Just slightly though. It's all right. It might stand the test of time depending, but there's some things in the movie definitely that won't, because of things like the score. The score is really not now. I can tell.
Don't you think it was trying to do that though? Like, oh, we're gonna do a score that's more like orchestral, unlike so many other things.
I think that was very like
orchestral, but like serious, because Marvel movies do orchestral too. But like. That's like, for example, when like I think someone's getting stabbed or getting hit in the head, there was like sharp strings, like a Hitchcock movie or something.
Like stabs. The problem with what you just said is they do that in Marvel movies, and I think that already is dated.
The dun dun dun.
Yes.
Dun,
the big
dun,
swelling
dun.
orchestral stuff. If you've noticed in all movies, more like what this Batman movie was trying to be, more like indie art house, whatever.
It's trying to make an art movie out of Batman.
All of those type of movies tend not to be orchestral. They're more like percussive or synthy, or like they use a completely different aesthetic to even things like the score. And I just felt very like, it's really cheesy because it's so expected. Like when Batman's being baptized, everyone is like, the music swelling up, and I was just like, this is so cheesy. The only other option that makes it kind of just as cheesy is like no music, because it's like, why not have something just more classy, you know, more
what
of
would classy
the time.
be?
I don't know.
But just not that.
Just not swelling orchestral music, you know, to like do the same thing of the emotion that's happening. I think it's really like for example, when someone's stabbing someone in a horror movie, you always hear, but like back in the day, you'd have strings that would do ding ding ding, and like you hear that in like from like Psycho or whatever. We've been doing that. So literally, if you make that choice to do that in your movie, your short film, or whatever, it's kind of cheesy.
But they were trying to be they were trying to be like, oh, we're like classy. I think they were this was their attempt at trying to be classy.
Yes, but it's similar as like playing a violin as someone's like crying, and like it's kind of cheesy when it's like, okay, we've done that for like all movies since the beginning of time, and when you're trying to make a serious moment, it's like someone playing a tiny violin as someone is crying, but then being like, I'm serious though. Like, I'm seriously trying to highlight this really sad moment. So I didn't like the score at all. I thought Matt Reeves as a director was okay. I thought the aesthetic choices are not my cup of tea, especially in 2022, but that's a personal thing.
And what were those choices just for, like?
Things like color palette. Like, it's very blue and red. Trying to do the like black and red kind of aesthetic, but it's sometimes blue and red. And I think, to me, heavy color correction is also kind of a sign of the times. It's very Zack Snyder, and it's very Marvel, DC movies in the 20s.
Well, it doesn't feel as heavily color corrected as like Justice League or
it doesn't.
Batman v Superman.
So I feel like it's a little bit more restrained.
I guess that's what I thought. I liked it a little bit more, but I could see, like, if I'm thinking David Fincher or even like Christopher Nolan, that's like as true to camera, as possible.
So like there is
in camera,
yes, as
possible.
in camera as possible. So like if you are specifically referencing movies like Seven, where David Fincher is still doing a lot of color correction, that screams that era that Fincher made that movie. But now, does he do that? No. A lot of stuff is in camera. Like, if you're gonna make like a really blue scene,
Gone Girl wasn't like that.
No, at all. So that's what I mean. It feels dated. It feels already like, this feels very like, as like, I can see how in a year this movie will show its age in terms of that. But that, to me, is a personal choice. That's not like a ding on his directing. It's just like, that's what you like to do.
You want it to look like.
Because he did the same thing in
I think Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
I think Apes 2 had for me the appropriate amount of Matt Reevesing the picture as possible. I didn't like the third one so much because it was very similar to the look of this. Very dark, very rainy. And just like super dreary. But like, it's Gotham though, and I like that about. So the way it looked, the way this Gotham looks is really neat to me, because it's some like weird in between of like the stark ultra realness of like looking at a hospital building at the Dark Knight. And that Gotham, it gets sunny there too.
Yes.
There's sunshine in that Gotham sometimes. It's dark. It's like hell at night. But like, I like that because it's like it's like fake during the day. It's like, oh, like we're like kind of inviting, but not. But like this Batman is like almost never sunny, and if it is, it's like blood red sky. It's like really emotional. And like, I think there are a lot of people complaining about it. I dug how much rain there was. I personally liked how much rain there was, but I will say I did not appreciate the rain in the most, the big epic car chase.
Yeah, there's
with
always
the Batmobile.
a car chase in a Batman movie.
It's a time to showcase the Batmobile, very similarly to a James Bond movie where they showcase the Aston Martin.
I just wish it was done so like, because I prefer as much as I love the Penguin in this movie, I feel like it's hard to say I don't want it to be a mob gangster movie, because that was really cool too. If you made that movie, it would be very similar to like the Dark Knight stuff. It'd be very expected. It'll be safe. But if I truly just wanted like a crime thriller and like mystery detective movie with Batman, because it'd be like really cool to see Batman be the super genius that he is and figure out all this stuff, and big action set pieces like fight scenes and car chases, to me they're neither here or there in a movie. Like, I don't need it, but I can see how maybe some executives maybe are like, where's the Batmobile,
Where's the Batmobile, man?
Where's the Batmobile?
Where's the Batmobile?
When does Batman go kapow, kacha? Like, when do we do the Batman superhero thing? But for me, I would have much preferred Batman maybe showcasing even the inside of the Batmobile and being like, these are the cool gadgets that I use to figure out where the Riddler is, and like maybe use the Batmobile in like a stealth, sneaky kind of way or whatever. Like ways.
Ooh, like the opening scene of Drive.
Yes, or whatever.
Cool. The Batman the Batmobile doing stuff that's not just like
I'm gonna
being
chase down.
badass.
Yeah.
Maybe being like a cool stealth machine.
Yeah.
I like your idea. Man,
So-
you'd make for a good producer someday. Thank you.
I just felt like Matt Reeves does really well when he is doing human drama, people to people, like heightened emotion, moody stuff. I don't think he excels in big action set pieces, which is fine. Every director has their strengths and weaknesses.
They have their genre.
Yeah, but if you're going to do a car chase, if you are going to do a big action set piece, if you're going to give it to me for like 10 minutes of the screen time, then give me a good one if you're going to do it. And I just felt like none of it was very strong. Any of the action parts. Like the car chase to me was whatever. You can barely see anything. I felt like he used the camera on the side of the car shot a little bit too much.
I didn't get enough coverage from that car chasing. I didn't know where the fuck everything was.
Like I heard Kermode say, it'd be...
Oh yeah, he complained about that too, right?
He said it would have been really beneficial for one master shot. Come on. One. And then I literally did not care. I kind of fell asleep during the fight scene. I didn't. I woke up right before the fight scene, but like
what fight scene?
At the end.
Oh, the final fight scene. Yeah.
And I was just like, this weak. It was really weak. And I also think that a lot of people's criticisms for this Batman movie is that it's too dreary, and it's some people's response to that is that like, yeah, duh, it's supposed to be a dreary movie. Usually fans of this movie.
Yeah, it's Batman. Batman's supposed to be like this, man.
And I kept thinking about it because I was like, I don't think people are dumb in that they don't realize this is supposed to be a dreary movie. I think what they're actually criticizing is that Batman is really one note in this movie, where the interesting part about Batman is that he is Bruce Wayne and he is Batman. He is in the daytime billionaire playboy, inherited a bunch of money and political charitable figure in the city.
That's truly his like alter ego, because he is really
Batman who is vengeance, justice, I don't know. And I was thinking about like, what's wrong with Batman not knowing how to be Batman yet? And I'm like, that's not the issue. It's the fact he cannot know how to be Batman yet. It's the fact that he looks 27 and he's still moping like an 18-year-old about his parents. and like telling Alfred, "You're not my dad."
Yeah, there's a whole "you're not my dad" thing, and I'm just like, dude, like
you're too old for this.
Yeah, come on. That was something I'd see from like the Gotham TV show.
Yes,
remember?
yes.
But not like you'd think that this Bruce would be way past the "not my dad" stuff.
Yeah. So like struggling to be Batman is like getting beat up a little bit.
Yeah, struggling
like,
to be Batman is to be ridiculed. No one
Yes,
supports you, and you don't.
yeah.
You don't know why you're doing this for the city that doesn't even give a shit about you. They want you
Yes.
dead.
Not
actually,
literally unable to be a man.
yeah.
like I expect a little bit more maturity at late 20s, because that's what I assume he is. I do not believe for a second he's like early 20s.
No,
Not at all. So I think that's what people are complaining about, that like it would have been nice to see if Batman truly is as intelligent as he is supposed to be, some kind of super genius that can go up against someone like the Riddler. He should understand the importance of having the role of Bruce Wayne, philanthropist, billionaire. He should understand that, especially by that age, and how it could really benefit him as being the Batman to have that kind of alter ego. But instead he like completely, like, Bruce Wayne and Batman are the same person, which that has never been the case. It was just, I think, a very one-note choice. It would have been nice to see Bruce Wayne be Bruce Wayne. Because even Catwoman has a moment in the movie where she kind of like literally points out this plot flaw. That like
About Bruce?
Yeah, and like he's this rich prissy boy who's still upset that his parents died. He should get over it already. And at the time, as that scene was playing out, I was like, that's kind of harsh, because that's how you're supposed to take it as...
Right. Yeah, Robert Pattinson gives her a look as Batman.
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
I'm offended.
And like, how can someone get over the death of their parents and becoming an orphan, you know?
Yeah.
But I think, to me, after the fact, I kind of agreed with Catwoman, because I was like, dude, you're 27. You can still be, like, dying inside. Like, because I expect everyone who have lost their parents to still, like, be very broken
Dead inside.
and traumatized.
Right.
But at a certain age, I think you get better at hiding it and functioning in society a little bit.
That would be kind of cool if, like, there was the, like... Batman not being good at being Bruce Wayne.
Yes.
And he's in these fucking meetings, and there's like criminal people in front of him, and all he wants to do is just like murk them, but he has to like be Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty sweet.
And it's really hard for me to believe someone as intelligent as Batman would be bad at accounting. Let's just say that's like a big plot thing. And I was just like, that's... He's like solving all these Riddler riddles, but he can't, for some reason, just manage a few $1 million. And I'm just like, okay.
That should be like back of his brain work.
Yeah,
super
like
easy.
he just does it.
Yeah.
He just does math.
Yeah.
So one of the biggest problems is like the way the movie ends in a big set piece, basically. And when the Riddler is your main villain, I'm not sure it should end in a big action set piece.
Right.
It should end in the solving of a riddle. Naturally. And none of it was...
High stakes thriller moment.
Yes.
Think of the ending of Seven and Dragon Tattoo.
Yes.
Something like that.
You have to solve it, otherwise, I don't know, someone dies. The city collapses. But the key is here. You need to solve it, not just punch your way through it.
Right.
And to me, that was a missed opportunity. That's why I give it a 7. And other things that make this movie really kind of out of touch is a lot of things that they give Catwoman to say. A lot of lines that are kind of like... so...
It's 2019.
Yeah.
Come on.
And the reason why I think it feels out of touch is because this movie was actually slated to come out last year.
Man, that blew my mind.
Yeah.
When I saw it, I was like, what?
It got delayed because of COVID, quote unquote COVID. But I think they were just scared. I think Wonder Woman didn't do well. Tenet also didn't do well.
They were scared.
Yeah.
Probably thought that the mood of the movie wouldn't help.
Yeah.
Wouldn't help right now.
So they delayed it, and it's unfortunate. It still made a lot of money. It made 134 million.
The biggest movie moneymaker for WB since It.
Yeah. Basically since the pandemic. And they did well. It's just, it was all right for me.
Janet wants to be rich.
I do. And in order to learn how to do that, I have been listening to the book on rental property investing by Brandon Turner. If you do not already have an Audible subscription, head over to audibletrial.com/thehoneyandabsinthe podcast, where you will get a free trial of Audible. That's one free audiobook. And if you also want to be rich, you should get this book because it's the quickest. Real estate is the quickest way to wealth.
That wasn't the only movie we watched. We also watched another movie.
We watched Uncharted.
More like Forgettable, the movie.
Yes. You forgot we even watched
I forgot.
it.
We were halfway through, like, polishing up the show notes for this until we were like, oh, yeah, we saw Uncharted. That's right. Okay, Jan-chan. Oh, should I start what I thought about Uncharted? Okay, so I played all the games. I'm not, like, the biggest Uncharted fan, but I have to say Uncharted 2 blew my mind when I first played it. I thought it was, like, one of the craziest experiences I've ever experienced in gaming to that point. And like at that time I thought like Half-Life was like the greatest thing. And then like playing Uncharted 2, climbing up the train, jumping from Jeep to Jeep, all that kind of stuff. Insanity. Pure insanity. So I'm watching this movie. I'm trying to watch it with a really open mind. I'm trying to be like, okay, Tom Holland, I'm trying to see the Nathan Drake in you, and Mark Wahlberg, I'm trying to see the Sully in you. But it doesn't, like, I tried really hard. There was even a point there where I was kind of buying it. But then I was like, I just think Tom Holland isn't Nathan Drake. I don't know how else to say it, because like for me, Nathan Drake is, to me, like, he's supposed to be this Indiana Jones character, but to me he's more like, he's kind of like that, but like Indiana Jones is like playing up how cool he is.
Yes.
Nathan Drake is sort of like the everyman, the Jimmy Stewart of adventuring and tomb raiding.
Yes.
Right. So I'm thinking like Nathan has a hard time climbing up. Like, it's easy for him, sure, but then when he's jumping from Jeep to Jeep and all that stuff, and he's barely surviving this train crash or whatever, it's hard for him. It's really difficult for him to survive.
Yes.
And when he jumps, Nathan does this like really big wide jump, like just as best as he could with like he's trying all his might to reach to the other thing, and that's what makes it so perilous and so fun. But like, really, Tom Holland just like flies through, just like climbs up the thing,
graceful.
and then he like so gracefully like kicks two people in the face, and it's like no big deal. And I'm just like, when Nathan throws a punch, it feels like he's throwing all of his weight into it. But like for like, it's just like down to like his physique, it just doesn't work for me, And then for Sully's supposed to be like this like bourbon, like this voice that's drank too much bourbon, and he's like this really like just like, they originally casted De Niro to be Sully when Mark Wahlberg was supposed to be Nathan Drake, and I could see how like you kind of need that sort of like old fatherly type, but instead you get more of like this I'm kind of your surrogate older brother thing, going with Mark Wahlberg, which to me isn't the relationship they have. I think I think the relationship between in the video games of Nathan and Sully and Nathan and Elena, and even Nathan and Chloe, are super strong. I don't think I saw that replicated in this movie version. I thought the relationship that Nathan had with Mark Wahlberg was just not that mentorship thing. It was almost like they were like, it was a buddy. It was like they were like on each other's level.
Yeah.
Whereas it always feels like Sully was like, kid, you got a lot to learn, and all that stuff. But then it was just like they were like arguing and bickering about stupid shit the whole time, and it felt like Mark Wahlberg doesn't like Nathan. Yeah. And then like, to make matters worse, it really feels like Mark Wahlberg checks out halfway through the movie. Like, it really feels that way. Like, this is just for the paycheck, bro.
What score did you give it?
I give Uncharted a 5. And like if another video game movie of this caliber, of this type, didn't come out, I would probably like be more generous. But I really think Tomb Raider is a much better movie than Uncharted. Also another thing about Tom Holland, I don't think he can carry a movie.
I don't think so either.
I don't, not yet. But like Alicia Vikander can.
Yes.
Like she is a force.
Yes.
You know, she's a force of nature, man. Like she's a badass, and like I have no problem watching her, and that's what like the thing too. Like it's perilous for her. Like she's like putting all of her back into climbing up this airplane and this waterfall thing, and she's getting stabbed in the back or whatever the fuck. It's insane.
She really struggles in the movie, even though like she's an MMA fighter apparently, and she can ride a motorcycle really, really well. She's clearly very more agile and trained compared to a normal female, clearly. But like Nathan Drake is supposed to also be a normal person, and he's just like more agile than someone who fights MMA for some quick change or whatever. It's amazing. I don't think Tom Holland can carry a movie yet.
I don't know what it is about him, and then like, I hate it. I hate all the scenes where he goes, Sam, my brother. Like, you know, he'd do like the Mr. Stark, I don't feel so good. Like he'd do the puppy dog eye thing, and I'd be like, dude, Nathan has never done that. Nathan would be like, holy shit, my brother, is he alive? Is he okay? He wouldn't be like, you know my brother? What is this? Like, he wouldn't do that.
And like, my brother left me.
My brother like, it's more of like Nathan understood in Uncharted, like Uncharted 4. It was like, yeah, I mean, you know, it sucks, but you know, this is my life now.
Yeah. We are.
But then it's like he's like broken and like teary-eyed about it. They're just like, oh, come on, dude.
Yeah, but the interesting thing about that movie was like, it's getting closer to on the money of like what people want. Like it's just pure escapism, fantasy. It doesn't have anything to do with, like there is no political statement in this movie. It's just like, here's a video game movie.
Have fun.
Please have fun. And I liked it for that. Like it's not a good movie in my opinion. That's why we give it a 5. But it is a fun movie if you want to waste your time.
But it is not a good movie. I would rather watch The Matrix Resurrections than Uncharted. Again, I do not want to watch. In fact, watching Uncharted made me feel like I need to watch Tomb Raider again.
Yes,
that movie was fun.
Yes, I want to.
They need to make another one.
They are. It got delayed during
the
COVID. Yeah. In terms of like filming, I think like a director dropped out or funding was dropped out or something, and then something happened with the script, and it's in development hell right now. But I'm so excited for another Alicia Vikander movie. I have a ex-coworker who like is in love with Alicia Vikander, and I love her too, but for all the other reasons. My coworker wants to be with her. I want to be her.
You want to be Alicia Vikander.
That is how you know I am straight as a ruler, and she is not. Yeah, I thought that was really amusing. And then we also watched Scream, which we wanted to talk about right when it came out, but a lot of things were coming out at that time, like Spider-Man, I think, or like a lot of stuff, and it was hard to figure out how to talk about this. But I kind of loved and hated Scream when I saw it.
Oh, that's right. I remember.
Yes.
I remember thinking I really like. Oh, we watched another movie that's not on this list.
What?
Moonfall.
Oh, no, not worth it.
Okay. Hollow Moon, man. Spoil it. Sorry.
Oh my god.
Now you don't need to see it. Okay, yeah, Scream was, to me, a lot of fun, and I really liked it, and I thought it was a really cool, like, homage to the late, great Wes Craven. But, like, you were annoyed by it for reasons that I was really, like, confused about at first, but then you explained to me. I was like, oh, you know what, I can kind of see it.
Yeah, so I like the movie now. even back then, I liked the movie. It's a good movie.
Then start with what you like. What do you like about it?
I give it an 8 because...
I also give it an 8.
It is a...
Scream is better than Batman. Fuck you.
Yes. I would rather watch Scream than Batman all 3 hours of it. I think Scream's plot was really nice. I liked how it does the typical Scream. I am meta. I have Scream inside Scream inside Scream, and then it's just fun. And I think the scares were good.
I thought the gore was fun.
I thought the gore
how
was
did you
well done.
do that? It looked all in camera and everything. It was insane.
And I thought the cast was great. And it's a young... I love seeing a young, new, fresh talent cast. They're not exactly
they're not
the
super
newest,
fresh,
but they're younger and fresher than the same
Robert Pattinson
people we've been seeing in every single movie.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what? Are there no new actors? Are you not willing to take a chance on any new actors? But I saw this, and I'm like, finally, some young people in movies, not 35-year-olds trying or 40-year-old people trying to pay 20-year-olds.
Late 20s.
It's weird. So I really like the movie itself. What did you like about the movie?
Okay, yeah, I liked about everything that felt like it was an homage to the originals. I liked the cast. I thought it had some neat twists in there and kills that I thought wouldn't... you think everybody's going to die, but it's not in the way I thought. And then... I think the weakest part of the movie was actually bringing the old cast back.
I think so.
I think that was a bad idea. I think maybe have some of them back because, it's kind of the point. Oh, it's they call it a requel.
Yes.
There's a really epic, scene midway through the movie where they're all crowded around a living room. And it's a very meta Honey and Absinthe type podcast about movies and archetypes and things. I love all of that stuff. And that's the stuff in the originals that they would talk about in the classroom or in the party at the end of the first movie. It's all just really classic and in terms and they coined the thing requel. We say member berry, but I guess in a way you could say requel.
There's a difference between a sequel and a reboot, and it's a reboot sequel, so they called it a
right. So, and they specifically explicitly mention Force Awakens because that's the most recognizable requel. But then you get something like Ghostbusters and things like that. And in terms of being a requel, I think it was a really strong requel to the point where I felt like it should have just been a sequel.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? A reboot.
Yes.
A reboot. Sorry, a reboot. Because it's kind of the sequel-y parts of seeing Nev Campbell and crew back was it's kind of cool member berry shit. But I actually like the drama of these new kids.
Yes, it's one of the rare moments where I go I like the new actors more than the old actors, the original actors. So my biggest gripe with the movie at the time, still kind of now.
Carefully explain this because I was really confused by it at first.
It is. We are now reaching this poke woke era.
Post woke, not poke woke.
Yeah.
You said poke woke.
Post woke era, where people are aware and wanting to dance this line of being woke and not too woke, because when you're so woke, you seem like you're pandering way too hard and it seems disingenuous.
And we're in this phase of culture and creation that we are aware of it now. The content being made is aware of it now.
Yes. Where if you do that, everyone's just gonna hate your movie. It's not landing for the people you want it to land for, and you're just alienating everyone else. Now people are trying to dance this line between how do I insert myself into the movie and my politics and whatever without being too heavy-handed. So that's what, in my opinion, Batman was. But this movie freaked me out a little because it was specifically pandering to the other direction, to the people, to the people like us on the internet who would criticize Hollywood for not being faithful to the fans and being too all about politics and to try to inject all this stuff in. They're literally pandering to them in this. That is the audience that they're trying to get, and we were thinking the reason why is because they want money, and honestly, the people on YouTube who have really big audiences who just do movie reviews or culture reactions or whatever, they kind of matter more than critics.
Yeah, I think
at this point.
we hinted at this in a previous episode when we almost talked about Scream, but it's like most people these days, if you look at the Quartering, Geeks and Gamers, they have as many or more views on, you know, whatever topic about Batman, whether it be cultural or actual reviewing Batman or whatever or whatever video game. What are they picking? What do they have a bone to pick about this time? It's something
With Elden Ring?
Oh, something with Elden Ring, and then Elden Ring, and then drama with Horizon
Yeah.
or something like that. Oh, ridiculousness! But then, like, I think the studios are aware that they have, like, these people who do these YouTube things have a huge draw,
Yeah.
and it's just like, how could you deny that when, like, I don't know how many people watched Ebert and Roper back in the day, and then you look at, like, the Quarterings video, you look at Geeks and Gamers video, it's just like 800,000, and like, because they're shitting on something.
Yes.
And it's just like, and like, Hollywood is really self-conscious, they don't want you to know it.
Yeah.
So like, if someone's going to somebody and they're talking shit about them, Hollywood's gonna know.
Yes.
You know what I mean? They fucking hate that shit. They want you to worship them.
I swear that, like, the only reason we still get like hundreds of views for like nothing topics is like someone has the unfortunate job of monitoring what we say so that they can tell whoever we're talking about that we're talking about them.
Yeah.
Yes.
I feel great, by the way. How do you feel?
I feel great.
Okay, good.
I'm doing great. I know you don't believe me, but like, I'm doing great. But I think Hollywood really has understood, come around to the idea that like, maybe we shouldn't insult these people. Maybe
that's a bad idea.
Yeah, maybe not only that, maybe we should like, let's pander towards them. That's what they want, right? So I felt very like.
So what did it feel like being like sort of like a college person being pandered to by woke stuff in a movie, but this time it's stuff that like, hey, you're a YouTuber that talks like, so because you haven't mentioned it yet, there's explicitly a scene where the main character looks up the meta movie, which is Stab inside of Scream, which is the Scream movie inside of Scream, and then she's watching two reviewers review it, and it's basically like a Honey and Apple show. Is basically like some dumb person in their basement and another dumb person in their basement going, Stab was blah blah culturally relevant because of
yeah, and if they do a reboot, they should do it like this, and if they do a sequel, they should really listen to the fans. Like, it's very much like when that's like the first instance in that movie where they start showing their intentions with who they think their audience actually is. And at first, I wasn't sure if they were making fun of or pandering towards. And usually, if you understand this about sales, about pitching, about storytelling, people like to see themselves referenced, whether good or bad. If you are mentioning them, they will talk about it. So if this movie mentions this type of YouTuber, what is that going to cause? The YouTuber's going to talk about it. Man, I feel so seen. I feel so related to. And then when they talk about it to their millions of audience, like, they're going to inspire all these people naturally to go watch Scream. So I felt like that's what they were doing. Because eventually you realize, oh no, this is a very like lovingly made movie, and I think trying to be very faithful to
lovingly made, like Ghostbusters. Lovingly made.
I think everyone cared to not just make this a cheap reboot sequel. Like they literally say that in the movie. They if someone's gonna do a requel, don't do a cheap one that isn't for the fans, because that's the only way for success according to Ghostbusters. Literally what they said. And
wait, they said that?
They mentioned Ghostbusters, and they mentioned
like
Star
Afterlife
Wars. I don't know if they meant
Afterlife.
Ghostbusters
2016.
Yeah.
Oh, I totally forgot about that one. Jesus Christ. Okay, dude.
But they were talking about all of this, so I felt like, okay, they're not making fun of these YouTuber type people. They are actually making this movie for them.
They're actually like, hey, become part of our movie.
Yes. And then like there are other instances of it where like they literally make fun of the archetype of the strong woman. The strong woman.
How do they make fun of it?
So this is gonna in order to explain, this is gonna go into spoiler territory.
You don't have to say who or what.
Okay, so a male character tells a female character, "Oh wow, you're so progressive. You're a loose woman. Oh, good for you, strong woman over here." And he was making fun of her by saying this, and I was like, "You literally could not have said that last year. Like, if you did." Everyone would hear about it on the internet and they would cancel your movie. But the fact that you're brave enough to put that as a line and have a dude say that to a woman in a movie and make fun of her for being like, oh, you think you're so strong. And this is what a real strong woman actually is like or whatever. And I was like, huh. That is kind of like a lot of scenes in Porky's. Something that is really actually an innocent thing to say, is not that controversial or offensive at all, technically, but it is in 2020. Like, you could not have said that in a movie, like, knowing Hollywood, like, you just couldn't. And there are many moments like that in this movie that I felt like that's very almost parroting certain talking points that some people like us on the internet would gripe at a movie for and being like, see, we're not doing that, so you can't like ding us for that.
Oh, we did it before you, so we can't say that to us.
We're very aware of ourselves, basically, by saying that.
Which is fine because it's the movie where they could
supposed to do that, yeah. The reason why I kind of hated it after I saw it is like, as a audience member, I don't want to feel seen. I want to watch the movie.
Unless you're watching a Haneke movie.
Yes. And I feel like this movie, by pandering towards that side, I was like, is this what people, like, woke people get all the time when they watch movies? Because I don't understand why they love it. It really makes me feel icky. It really makes me feel Hollywood is trying to get their grubby little fingers.
Because they never cared about the politics to begin with.
Yeah.
They're literally going to latch on to whatever.
Anything that makes money. So, like, so for me, let's say I was really woke. I'd be really pissed off at Hollywood that they never cared about my issues. And as someone who is aware of how people manipulate woke people, because I don't have a problem with wokeness or woke people, I have a problem with Hollywood manipulating them with their whatever for money, literally for money. And now I know that they do that. Now they're trying to do that to me. I don't like that. And then I also don't like the fact that, like, I really, really hope other people like me are not easily swayed by that. I don't want people to suddenly be like, oh my god, Hollywood is amazing because they saw me. They, like, agree with my... No, they don't. They don't agree with anything. They're gonna say whatever they gotta say to get your dollars, okay?
And your butts in their seats.
Yes. It doesn't... Like, they don't care about your political issues, and they don't care about anyone's political issues. They just want your money. And I think that's what people did not understand when I existed on the internet. They thought, like, these big old corporations are on their side, that they actually care about these things. Like, when M&M has to, like, the candy company, when Skittles has to, like, come out and go, like, we're gonna make all white Skittles to be inclusive for everyone. And I was just like, you're a candy company. I know you just want me to eat your candy. I know you just want my money. Stop trying to empathize with me to get my money. Like, that's, like, people understand that about Skittles for some reason, yet they have such a hard time wrapping their head around when Hollywood does it. But now I'm seeing, like, I thought it was bad that they were pandering towards the woke people. I was like, oh no, now they know that they're going to they're going to make money, because Scream made money.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna make
Scream
money.
made a lot of money. It's still making money. That thing has legs, dude.
Yeah.
Like, I know, like, you know, underneath the Batman, underneath the Spider-Man is the Scream movie that still has been I think about for 2 months now. Still, I think it's still making like 100,000 or something crazy. It's still making a lot of money, and I'm thinking, like, good for Scream. Yeah. Good for Scream, because, like, if there were more Scream movies, so I mean, like, aside from all of that, it's a fun movie to watch. Yeah.
I'm just personally, I was, like, so offended. But now I've come around to being like, you know what? this is a checks and balances here, and I feel like corporations are always going to make money, and that's always going to be their goal. At the very least, they've like the scale has balanced a little bit where it was like tipped way on the side. Now at least people are just aware, like, come on, let's not just how about let's not inject politics into everything, and let's like just try to appease the new people who we can get money from. And these people who are like really starved for whatever. That's fine. At the end of the day, I was like, man, that's an immature reason to hate a movie. But we also watched Halloween Kills.
Halloween Kills. There's a lot of killing in Halloween Kills. There's really not much to talk about here culturally. But there is one neat scene that I think, I'm not going to really spoil too much, but it involves the mob, and the mob making mistakes, and what happens when you rile up a community of people. Just basically what happens to them. Yeah. And like I don't think it's a huge spoiler to say, because I think it would make me want to watch the movie more, because if I knew about this, I'd be like, holy shit.
That's cool, yeah.
Michael kills an entire town's worth of people in this movie. And like I don't understand how they could have like advertised that more, but like that is the coolest part of this movie to me. Like I really think like that was so sick when he just murked an entire an entire mob of people, because Michael runs on hate and killing and all this stuff. And I'm like, oh man, isn't it so cool? Because like in a way you kind of want to root for Michael, because the mob isn't entirely a great force to be rooting for either. Yeah, I felt icky at the just with a lot of the struggles of the main characters of like trying to get like the townspeople to help, but instead of helping, they like go on a fucking manhunt. You know what I mean? Yes. And it doesn't end well for a lot of them. And it makes you really want to root for Michael. So if you go in it thinking like, oh, I need to root for Jamie Lee Curtis because I have to. No, like I think if you approach it like, no, I want Michael to kill everybody, because at this point I'm even fed up with her name, Laurie. Her name Laurie or whatever. No, Jamie Lee Curtis's character. Yeah. I don't care about them anymore. I like at the end of that movie I was just like, man, I hope Michael kills Laurie at the end of this movie, like, because everyone's so annoying. In fact, like, I'll fucking spoil it because it's so hilarious. The little kid that Jamie Lee Curtis babysat is like super into killing Michael because he has this weird chip on his shoulder that like, you once a young little man and then you did all this to my town and I didn't get to fuck you up, but now I can't. And now he's like, oh, big man trying to kill fucking Michael Myers. So when he gets murked, it's just like awesome. It's fucking awesome. So like if you approach this movie like most Halloween movies where you're like, oh, fucking Michael, I hope they get that guy, he's a bad guy. If you're like, no, Michael should murk this entire town because they deserve it. Yeah. And then he does, and it's awesome.
So what score do you give this movie?
I give it a 6. I give it a 6 because it's not much more than that. Yes. But like I had a good time. I had a really good time. I thought the kills were awesome. A little like not as classy as Scream was like classy. Yeah. That was like, how did they make that knife do that to that person's neck? Like, wow, that's amazing.
Yes, that's crazy. Yeah.
But then like watching Michael relentlessly smash people to bits, and then seeing like Retro Michael's in this movie too, and it was rad. Yeah. I don't know who they got to be Retro Michael, but he really it's like they went back in time. Yeah. It's insane. But like it's just not the best movie. I think like in terms of anything that like everything that doesn't involve Michael in it is boring, and like you just start to loathe all of the characters by the end of the movie, and you hope Michael kills all of them.
I give it a 5 because I didn't love it as much as you, because I had a problem with it that most Halloween fans have a problem with. It is that Michael doesn't do half the stuff that he does. That's not in his character.
Oh, right.
He's never been a certain kind of killer. He's been a very specific kind. So
it's for me, it's just nice to see Michael on a rampage. But if you were a Halloween purist, like this isn't the kind of movie I sign up for. Yeah.
But if you take that requirement out of the movie and you're not a Halloween fan, then you're like, oh, it's a fine movie. It's all right. It's fun, horror, like dumb horror movie.
But sort of like a betrayal of the character, like No Time to Die.
Yes.
Like, oh, he doesn't do
that. Yeah. But mob mentality in this movie is really fascinating because, again, just like Scream, the way they depict the mob being the bad guys and what happens to the mob seems very cathartic. It seems very like people in Hollywood taking their anger out on the mob that comes after them whenever they slightly mess up. And it felt very like, again, you can't say this, do this messaging like a year ago as mobs are roaming the town wreaking havoc on people, you know what I mean? And I just, they literally even, I think they made footage similar to that time.
The riots,
era. Yeah. I don't think they used riot footage.
No, they didn't, but it looks like they recreated stuff inspired by what was happening currently.
Because it looked very specifically...
Nowish.
Yeah, 2020, 2021.
Yeah.
And that's what... Like, I feel Scream and Halloween Kills is one of, like, the movies that aren't out of touch. They're, like, become... Like, it's like Hollywood is slowly... these movies seem more recently made, too.
Is this what you want?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like Batman, which is, like, 5 years in the making or something like that.
So it just felt out of touch naturally because it was, like, messaging from 5 years ago. Whereas this felt like it was made during the pandemic. Like, the reason Halloween had basically almost like riot footage, and Scream just felt, the messaging wise was very like post-woke. And then we watched The Cursed.
Cursed, a movie you probably haven't even heard about, but it was in theaters for like a good 3-4 weeks. It was a horror movie. This is the movie where, like, I think you should see it so hard. I'm not gonna spoil too much about it.
Yeah, I don't think we should.
But it is a retelling of a story you've heard, seen, watched 1 million times before, but done in a way you haven't seen before.
Yes.
And it's really, it's neat.
Yeah.
It's really neat in that way. Very strong movie. Very strong vision for a monster you know almost every single bit of lore about.
Yeah, it's very...
Don't look it up. Okay, I know you're about to go to Google and go like, oh, what's the... Don't look it up. Just watch. If you're curious, just watch it. Just watch it.
I think this movie is really good, and I would give it an 8.
I give it an 8 too.
This movie is like a Brothers Grimm fairy tale. Like, if you've read any of the original ones, they're kind of dark and creepy, and this is a horror movie, so it's taking, like, for example, Grimm fairy tales like Cinderella, let's say, a character, a thing you know very, very well, and turning it on its head a little bit, or just like telling it in a storybook way of like how it actually went down. And not only that, I thought it's aesthetically really really forward.
Beautiful movie. There's an amazing wide shot, I think, like 20 minutes into the movie, 15 minutes into the insane.
Yeah.
I we were talking about how did they choreograph all of that went down. It's insane.
So, like, it might actually be a really great exercise to show the difference between The Cursed and the Batman, and why The Cursed is much more current than the Batman.
I think people would think The Cursed is much more like subdued and not as sexy.
Yes. So I think 2020s and 2010s were all about being heavy-handed in the special effects, the color correcting, and the shallow depth of field, because we suddenly got cameras that could, like,
do all of that.
That like crazy, get like really, really, really shallow depth of field, and like crazy, like anamorphic lenses that make like that really crazy circular bokeh in the background, and like you see, like, for example, like Moonlight had a lot of that. Academy Best Picture of I think 2016, 2018.
Better movie than La La Land. Still stand by that.
I think so.
Yeah.
But like that shallow depth of field thing that like you see all over Batman, it like where you can't see anything. You're just in someone's face, and it causes this moody like you're in someone's head. You can feel what they're feeling. That's what those type of shots are meant for. I think it's been overdone. It's almost a stylistic faux pas to me now. That like I have realized after this past Oscar bait season, we don't really talk about the Oscar bait movies because they're kind of boring and we know no one watches them but us, people like us. But
we did see Drive My Car.
Yeah, we just
saw Spencer recently. Still need to see Belfast.
There are two things that I am noticing in more art house movies and people who are trying to like push the genre of filmmaking forward. It's they're straying away from shallow depth of field and they're going really wide and they're showing everything, like really, like everything's crisp and clear. I understand this is very expensive for low budget movies, but I think The Cursed is a great way of handling it, where like you put your budget in certain really cool set pieces and then you do the noir thing. Because like what I think Zack Snyder did wrong, not wrong, just like in my opinion not my cup of tea, is like concealing their lack of budget or bad CG with shadows. Rather than like it's hard to explain, but in The Cursed it feels like this like new type of noir where like everything's practical and the lighting design is really 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 well done, and if things are in shadow you're still seeing this amazing silhouette or this amazing shadow shape that you're actually still seeing so much. Like there's so much detail for the eyes, rather than you can tell when something's like been digitally blurred, or you can tell when something has been digitally color corrected to have that like shadow, because it doesn't follow that way in real life. And there's something about practical lighting that you see in like 1917, that you see in The Cursed, that you see in Drive My Car and Lamb, that is like very now versus that like you don't see anything. You don't see anything in that like done in digitally and done in post. So that's definitely one thing that makes it like very current. Another thing is that I'm noticing these special effects are coming back to like practicalness, because with Marvel movies it's so crazy how even like things like Endgame don't look so well anymore. Like really
I was
quickly.
watching some of the Eternals with you that one time and I was going like, this is awful, and then I saw Ghostbusters. I was like weeping because of that monster in the mall.
Yeah.
I was like this is insane. And like I can't think of a single thing in a Marvel movie, Disney Marvel movie specifically, that's practical.
Yeah.
Not Iron Man suit, not anything. Like it's just so not there. And I just feel like we're in this place that's like very. It's almost like how we used to do it, back in the day in the 70s and the 60s, where it's just all in camera. You had to design the set because we didn't have these crazy shallow depth of field lenses that could, kind of conceal the fact that you don't have a budget for a really good production design. Come on, let's be real here. Like you can't. I think like we're going away from that, because I could see it in music. I can see it in architecture. I can see it in everything. That like everything's moving towards this like old but updated to be new.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's really exciting. I think it's really exciting. And like it's so crazy. Like I think like not WB, Universal has been trying so hard to like kind of revamp the werewolf movies and the mummy movies and like Frankenstein and everything in their lexicon of Halloween baddies. Yeah. This is like some of the best old school horror I've ever seen in a long time. Like since The Others. I think it's comparable. Like that is like The Others is like classic House on Haunted Hill type of ghost story, and this is like classic, almost a Universal old school horror movie. It's dope. Yeah, like
monster movie, I guess.
Yeah, and monster movie.
It's just really cool to see, and I want to see more of this. I'm really just sick of, like, in my opinion, I don't think when people say, well, in order to have like to show like you said, that's how movies used to be made. Like you had to show, like, we didn't have the choice with stuff like film, for example. But then I go like, no, I think that's an excuse, because look at like Sean Baker and look at like Red Rocket, his recent movie, and go like, well, he literally went to Texas and was like, this is a beautiful place, I'm gonna show it, I'm not gonna hide it, I'm gonna show it in all its glory and all its little scars, and because that's what it's like. And he did that for the Florida Project.
He did that for my hometown,
and yeah, for Tangerine. Yeah. And I just felt like there's nothing wrong with having a lower budget looking movie if that's, you know, like, that's part of it, that's part of your movie, and it's okay to like not have the budget for a big crazy cathedral or something. Because it was really cool, in my opinion, that Batman had that like crazy cathedral. Then we watched Studio 666, which I give it a 5.
So sick, man. That movie's so fucking cool. Rock and roll! Dude, that movie's so sick. It reminded me of like going to watch movies with my high school friends, watching something like I Love You, Man, or Knocked Up, or The Hangover, yeah. Where it's just like a bunch of dumb dudes doing dumb shit, yes, and having a good time.
Yes.
Like, it's a bit like, I swear to you, like, I haven't went and seen a movie and had that experience since something like I Love You, Man. And I think that's what a lot of people went to see, like The Good Boy, like Good Boys. There's been like so many attempts at trying to come back to that like dumb, raunchy humor. Yeah. Just fails horribly.
Yes.
But like the amount of swearing and like offensive shit that they say, but then like rock and roll history and like, you know, just ridiculous Easter eggs and shit. It's just so, I think for anybody who doesn't take watching movies too seriously, I think they could have a good time watching Studio 666.
Yeah.
And I think it's something that I want to see more of. It's kind of crazy that like it had to take the Foo Fighters, who are they're like, Dave is this bored. Yes. Like, they're so sick of making records, they have to do shit like tour around the world and then make a song in a different studio around the country. Oh, here we go, they're gonna make a movie like based on their like next 10th upcoming album. Like, they have to like raise the stakes, and it's just so crazy that this dumb movie with such simple, innocent intentions took me back to a place in time that just really hasn't existed for over a decade now. Yeah. Like, it's been a long time since Hollywood was like okay with doing like a really raunchy like classic Judd Apatow type of thing. Yeah. You know? Yeah. They're too afraid, but it, like, I don't know, it's just nice to see that it's that genre, because that's what it really reminds me of.
Yeah, so like at the beginning you asked like what type of movies should we think Hollywood should make, and it really is horror, and because clearly Scream budget is like nothing but like made a lot of money, and then these type of comedy movies, because like I'm watching this movie, even though I didn't love it, like half the movie is great.
It's not a good movie at all. No. I mean, I think there needs to be some major editing done.
Yes.
And that there's 30 minutes too long, ridiculously long movie, and like it loses steam last 25 minutes. But like, it's still like, I enjoyed the ride.
Yes, it's a very fun movie. Like, genuinely fun. Like, this was fun in the way that Uncharted wasn't.
I'd rather watch Studio 666 over Uncharted, because it's that much of a joy to watch.
Yeah, and I miss when movies used to be fun to watch. And what I mean by that is, like, technically Uncharted is fun to watch, but I mean, like, you can tell how much fun the cast and crew had making it. And I think there's a huge difference there when, like, it feels like Superbad was fun to make. It feels like Red Rocket was fun to make. It feels like a lot of those older like Jim Carrey movies, they have like the bloopers at the end, or even
Adam Sandler movies.
Yeah, or Steve Carell. Like it just seems so like we know what this movie is. It's not going to be a big blockbuster movie. It's not trying to be a big old serious art house movie. It's not trying to be anything other than we just want to make it, and everyone involved is just trying to like do their job and have a good time. And when that happens, I feel like as an audience member that comes across on screen, and you enjoy the movie more. So for example, like Ghostbusters looks like it was lovingly made and everyone was really into it. Same thing with Scream and all this. It just
How much fun do you think Dave and the boys had making this movie?
so much fun.
So much fun.
You told me Taylor didn't memorize any of his lines.
He refused to, apparently.
So he just literally just
Winged it.
improv'd through the entire movie.
And you think he had the best performance? Mine was Pat Smear. He's awesome. Pat's like number 2. Come on.
I felt like Taylor wasn't acting. I felt like everyone else was acting. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Mm.
So maybe he had the right idea as a non-actor. Maybe you shouldn't memorize your lines.
I should just say it like how I usually say it to you, Dave.
Yeah.
Like that type of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, like, fuck you, Dave.
Fuck you, Dave.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Like, let's like a real quick aside. It's fun to see Dave be a fucking diva, dude.
Yes. Because I'm sure he is sometimes.
Yeah. Like, I've always had a feeling Dave is like fucking Paul McCartney, man. He's insane. Like it's the face of like, oh yeah, I'm a fun rock and roller dude, but you don't want to be working for me because I'll fucking kill you.
If
you fucking skip a beat, it's over for you.
If you learn anything in life, you have to watch out for the Vincent types. You have to watch out for the easygoing ones because they're gonna be the nightmare bosses. They're gonna be the ones
I'll fuck you up, man.
that are like,
I'm gonna ask so many unreasonable things out of you.
Yes. And people are so scared of me. But really you shouldn't be. I'm actually a lot kinder than you are.
Don't be afraid of me. There's nothing to be afraid of.
Yes, I think Studio 666, not a great movie, but you should watch it.
A good time.
Yeah.
A very, very good time.
So, this episode, we are recommending...
Wait. Let's have some sort of thesis. You know, some sort of, like, overarching point, don't you think? Do you have one, even?
My point is that it's important to notice these things in art, in media, in the things that we can choose to consume.
Why? So that maybe you as a creator can be one step ahead of everybody, or actually know what, I don't know, maybe provide a need that everybody else isn't providing?
I think as a creator, you're trying to get your message, whatever your message is, out there. Whether it's to, I don't know, let's say you make comics, you want to write a story that people care about. You want to write a story that is current and hasn't been done a million times. Or let's say you want to make a movie or a short film.
But what happens in the case of The Curse where it's done a million times?
I think The Curse is a fantastic thing to watch, to be like, that's how you refresh something that has been done.
That's what I wanted to hear. Yeah, it's truly that. It's like, you've seen it a million times before, but you haven't seen it done like that.
But how can you personally make it different, but not different for the sake of being different, new? Your take on it, the 2022 take on it. And I think the Batman and Uncharted and a lot of Marvel movies that have been in production and they just need to like pump them out, they feel so dated. And we have the benefit as like artists, creators, whatever. We can move faster than a giant corporation. Mm-hmm. We don't have to, like, if you are incapable of speaking to a new generation of people in a way that they want to be spoken to, in a way that can relate to them, good luck getting any messaging out there. Like, good luck getting any type of success. Or, like, we had a teacher in school that taught us the number one most important thing as designers is to be storytellers. If I taught you nothing, he would always say, if I taught you nothing, I don't care if you didn't learn how to paint, I don't care if you didn't learn how to draw, I don't care if you didn't learn these fast and loose lines, and
don't give it away.
and stuff like basic design principles. That's fine, because that's not important. That is not like truly the most important thing about being an artist or a designer. The most important part is that you understand you're a storyteller, because if you can do that, and you can do that well, then you can do anything. Literally anything you'll be successful at. If you can't, because it's part persuasion, it's part salesmanship, it's part everything. It's part presentation. Like, if you can do that, then I have done my job. And I that's why, like, even if these movies are bad, I think we'll always continue to watch it. Unless we just know that, like, it's just not worth our time. Like that Red Panda movie, not worth my time. But I think it's important. It's important.
I've been dreaming of a way, because like out of all the animated movies I haven't watched, the only one I really do want to watch is what's the, I already forgot. What you call that? The one with the people dying. The guy who dies.
Soul.
That's right. Yeah, I've always wanted to watch that because it feels like very in our wheelhouse.
Yeah.
But we haven't seen it. And like I've been thinking of a way, like I was thinking we should stream it somehow by like matching the time codes or whatever, but whatever.
No.
Well, whatever.
It won't work. Oh no.
Oh no, Janet, our thing ran out of memory. What are you going to recommend to the people today?
We are going to recommend Scream and The Cursed, if you have not already watched it. And if you like this episode of the podcast, like, subscribe, jingle all the bells and buttons, check out all these other episodes over here, and we will see you next time.
Bye.